Hi everyone, welcome to a new social talk session. I'm Maria, marketing expert at Social Insider. Until now, we learned about LinkedIn from Dr. Natalia Wichovsky. Doreen Morin Van Dam told us about community management. James Tucker talked about how to plan your content in social media. Christina Garnett talked about the power of social listening. And now Jenn Herman will teach us about Instagram and how the algorithm works. In this session, you will learn from Jenn exactly how Instagram sorts and prioritizes content. Jenn will break down the Instagram algorithm and provide you with actionable content strategies for both the feed and stories. You'll leave this session feeling comfortable with how to create the right content on Instagram for your audience, leading to an increase in your engagement and website traffic. Jenn, I can't wait to see your presentation. Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited. I love talking about this stuff. I love geeking out over this, so I'm excited.
Great. I have my notebook here and a pen. So when you are
Great.
ready, the stage is yours.
All right, let me go ahead and throw up our screen so that we have everything here so we can dive right in. You guys, I am legitimately so excited about this. As we get started, Marie just did a great little introduction for who I am. I do want to remind you, if you've never sat in one of my sessions before, I do talk really fast. This pace is pretty much what we're going to do the entire session. So have those pens and pencils and typing fingers ready to go. You are also invited at any point to grab your phone or your screen capture on your computer and grab any of the slides as we go through so that you have those for reference to kind of go back to at any point if you need to. So just keep that in mind. I highly encourage it. And if you want to take a photo of yourself watching this session and post it on social media, make sure you do that. And especially on Instagram, make sure you use the hashtag for the event and make sure that you mention at JENNS_trends so I can see how you're taking in this session. I would love to connect with you. All right, so as we dive into this session, I want to start first with why I love Instagram for business and the power that it actually has, because a lot of people are like, so you upload some photos, how hard can it be? Well, if it was that easy, I wouldn't still have a job. So the reason I love Instagram for business is these top three reasons. And the first reason is because traffic from Instagram has lower bounce rates than all other social media platforms. The bounce rate from Instagram is virtually 0%. Now, bounce rate is when someone lands on your website and immediately leaves. They bounce. High bounce rates are bad. That means people are not staying when they come to your content. Low bounce rates are good, meaning they land on that page, they stay, they read, they navigate to your menus and other pages and that sort of thing. So because you have to work to get traffic from Instagram to your website, people legitimately want to be there. They aren't fat thumbing it or clicking on the wrong link or kind of getting clickbaited into it. They legitimately want to be there, and that means more conversions. You may not get as much traffic from Instagram as other social media, but the quality is significantly better. Another reason I love Instagram is when it's one of the strongest community building tools for your brand. Now, every social media expert is going to be like, oh, Facebook groups are great and TikTok is great and Clubhouse is great. And I'm not saying they're not, but the way Instagram is designed, the way people interact on the platform, it really is an incredibly powerful engagement platform where people do really connect and meet people, not just interact with a like or a comment, but actually generate conversations, those DMs. You're seeing that real life side of them in their stories. And it's a really good way to build that long-term relationship and loyalty with your audience for your brand. Also, Instagram has some of the highest engagement rates for all social media. Currently, the only platform that outperforms Instagram in terms of overall engagement is TikTok. That's because of a variety of reasons. And they're slightly similar but slightly different depending on how you look at it, in terms of obviously stories and reels as it relates to TikTok comparison. Those engagements can obviously be higher. Instagram in general, for like feed posts and that sort of thing, average engagement is about 2.5%. which is amazing. It sounds like you're like 2.5%, like this is horrible, but that's actually not. Average engagement on Facebook is about 0.17%, and average engagement on Twitter is about 0.01% engagement. So to be at 2.5%, that is significantly higher, exponentially higher than the other platforms. And it is worth pointing out, but that's average across every account, like accounts that have 5 followers as well as 5 million followers. Most small businesses will see double-digit engagement on Instagram if they have a good, solid strategy. So you have that chance to really connect with your audience. All right. All of that being said, I want you to really focus on this. And if there is nothing else you take away from today's session, I want you to remember this slide. The Instagram algorithm is not the same as Facebook. I'm going to drill this into you today, but it's important to realize that what you're doing on Facebook will not work on Instagram. You cannot just auto share your Facebook and Instagram posts back and forth. You cannot assume that because something has worked for years on Facebook that it's going to work on Instagram. It won't, because Instagram is about each individual user. Facebook is a popularity contest. The better your content performs overall, the more people Facebook shows it to. Facebook also hides content. Instagram is about each individual user experience. How you interact with my content determines where my content appears in your feed. And it's really important to understand this nuance. Now, when it comes to Instagram, we mentioned the algorithm. Well, did you know there's actually about 7 or 8 algorithms at play in every aspect of Instagram? There's actually probably a couple more that are nuanced in the background that we don't actually see. So there are some of the more, kind of common ones that you may not be aware of, but you would recognize is that there's an algorithm in the Explore feed to determine what you see in your Explore page. Hashtag searches are ranked algorithmically based on your personal preference. Instagram stories have an algorithm that determines which ones you'll see higher in the feed. The Instagram feed actually has an algorithm, and that's obviously the one most people think of when they hear the word algorithm. And of course, now Instagram Reels have an algorithm. Now, we don't have a lot of time today, so we're not going to talk about all of these. I wish we could, but we would be here for a lot longer. So we're going to just run through mostly stories and feed today so that you understand how that content is ranked, what impacts those outcomes, and what you can do to maximize your performance and rank higher in the feeds of your audience. So first, we're going to talk about Instagram stories. And I want to point out how the Instagram story algorithm works. So I'm assuming most of you are familiar with stories, but if you're not, those are those bubbles across the top of your feed, as you see there on the screen. So your profile photo is the first one. If you have an active story, you'll have the colored ring around your profile photo. The number 1 position is the most likely story that you are to watch, and that's going to be to the position immediately to the right of your profile image. And that is the content that Instagram deems you are most likely to interact with in some way. And this is based on your behavior. If you've never, ever watched a story, these are chronological. Once you've watched at least one story, algorithms start determining the likelihood of what you're going to interact with. And that comes from a variety of signals, including your behavior with that individual account. So in this case, @thedigitalgal is my best friend. She's also a Facebook and Instagram ads expert. So if you need help with that, you can always go check her out @thedigitalgal. But she's my best friend. And she's the only person on the planet that I will watch every single one of her stories. So when she has a new story, Instagram, of course, puts it in the number 1 position because they know I'm going to watch it. Then we have Mike Alton @Blogging Brute, and we have Stephanie Liu @Hey Stephanie Liu, who are my other 2 very, very close friends, and I am very likely to watch their content. So of course, when they have new content, it's going to rank higher in the feed as well because they're the ones I'm most likely to interact with. But it's also worth pointing out that there's types of behavior within watching stories. There's active engagement and passive engagement. If you only ever watch a person's stories, but on someone else's stories, you actively click on stickers, actively reply, whether a quick reply or an actual DM reply to stories, those have higher weightings because they're active engagement, which means those would get preferential placement over somebody who you just passively watch. So there's a lot of signals that determine what will get that ranking in your feed. Should also point out that live video does get prioritized placements, meaning if someone in my group of followers that I follow goes live, they are probably going to go to the number 1 or number 2 position while they are live. And you'll see the little live icon, kind of attached to their profile photo. Now, in the case of Amanda at The Digital Gal, because she's my one go-to, like guaranteed always watch her stories, if she has a new story, a live video from someone else is not likely to bump her out of the number 1 position because she still gets priority for being my preferred content. But if she didn't have new content up, then someone's live video would most likely go to the number 1 position. And whenever you've watched those stories, they go to the end. As soon as that person has new stories, they bump back up to the beginning. So I mentioned already just a little bit about active versus passive engagement. And so that's one of the key ways that you can get people to interact with your content, getting more rankings algorithmically in a positive way for your content to rank higher in those feeds. And now remember, once someone goes into the story, they're going to either swipe through or tap through, and then eventually they're going to leave the story sequence. But once they're in there, they're going through in the same order in which you would see the bubbles across the top of the feed. So they're ranked in likelihood. So as the longer they stay on, the less likely that it is content they want to actively or even passively engage with because it's ranking down in priority for that individual user. So we want your content early on so they're more likely to take action on it. They're more likely to see it and engage because they start getting to those, I don't really care about these people. They leave, if your content isn't up there, they're not going to probably see it. So we want to make sure that your content is ranking high. As a result, some of the things that you can do are stickers. These are great for driving that active engagement. Things like polls, quizzes, questions. I love all 3 of those for active engagement. You can put those up there for really simple questions. You can put them up there for some audience insights. You can put them up there for just fun, witty banter. I mean, you could literally say, which outfit should I wear today? What shoes should I wear today? Option A or option B? And you put up the 2 images and people get to vote on it. You can ask people simple questions about their favorite pizza topping or ice cream flavor. It doesn't always have to be 100% business related. It's a means of driving engagement. And if you can capitalize on something trending, if you can capitalize on something that is industry related or newsworthy and those sorts of things, it can really drive up that opportunity to connect with your audience. I also love the countdown sticker. This is great for a lot of different reasons. If you are doing a webinar or you're doing a live show, set a countdown sticker for when that live show is going to happen. And so when the countdown sticker expires, if anyone tapped on it for notifications, they'll get a notification from Instagram that the countdown sticker expired. The webinar is starting. Oh yeah. And they can go over and watch your webinar or your live show, any of those sorts of things. So that can be a really fun way to use the countdown sticker. It's also great for sales and promos. Summer sale starts Friday, so you put a countdown sticker, they get the reminder when the sale starts. You always want the countdown sticker for when something begins, not when something ends, because when the countdown sticker expires, the event is over. So if you send the countdown sticker for when the sale ended, they can now get a notification and the sale ended. They can't go and take advantage of it. So always make sure the countdown sticker is for when something begins, not when it ends. The slider sticker is random. I have no legitimate purpose to define why you would use the slider sticker. I think it's the most ridiculous sticker out there, but it drives engagement. So if you can find fun ways to use that slider sticker, which you can change out the emoji that's on it and you can turn it different directions or whatever and have people slide. Again, it's active engagement. It's fun. It's engaging with your audience. So it's a fun way to kind of boost that interaction. There's other things like the donation stickers, gift card stickers, any of those sorts of things that people can tap on and move through a process as well. That's also active engagement. So there's lots of different things you can do to get people clicking on things and have them interacting directly with your stories. And that will actually push that interaction. And now something that is brand new, I have it on my account, but it hasn't rolled out to everybody, is chatbots, which is the automation messaging going on Instagram. There's now going to be an ability that if someone replies to your story, that you could actually initiate a chatbot. So you could have cues in there that say at mention, or not at mention, but reply to the story with this word. And then when they do that, it's going to launch a chatbot conversation with that person. So that's another way to keep that engagement up, and you don't have to do anything. Like, you don't even have to reply. The chatbot will handle that conversation. So there's lots of things that are coming out in ways that are going to give us so much capability to use these stories and stay connected with our audience. All right, so that was a really quick, I know we didn't touch on a ton of stuff, but I hope that gave you some really good insights into stories. Now let's talk about the Instagram feed and the algorithm that everybody talks about, the one that everyone is convinced is out to get them. It's not, I promise you, and I'm going to show you how to use it to your advantage. So a couple things to know about the Instagram feed algorithm. It is based predominantly on those individual interactions. Again, not like Facebook. So on Instagram, if you always interact with my content, you will see my content high in your feed. If you 50-50 interact with my content, I'm going to get a mid-range placement. If every time you see my content, you ignore it and you keep scrolling and you do not interact in any way, shape, or form, I will continue to rank lower and lower and lower in your feed to the point where I'll probably just become the bottom and you'll probably never see my content. That's what we don't want. And unfortunately, that's what happens. And that's where people start throwing around terms like shadow banning and algorithm changes. And it's really, sorry, I'm not going to pull any punches. It's probably because your content sucks. It's not connecting with your audience. If it's not resonating with them, it's not getting engagement. If it doesn't get engagement, it goes lower and lower in the feed. So we want to make sure that you're creating the content that has an interest for your audience. You need to know what they're interested in, what's driving their engagement, what's driving their participation. And it's worth pointing out that any interaction is considered positive rankings algorithmically. That could be scrolling through a carousel. That could be scrolling back in the feed to go back and look at your post. It could be stopping to look at the image for a prolonged period of time, which could be literally a second. It could be clicking ... more to read the caption. All of that is positive rankings algorithmically, for which we have absolutely no metrics. We don't get any idea that that's actually working, but that is a positive ranking algorithm. It doesn't have to be just a like, comment, or share. Now, there's also relationships with accounts. So typically personal accounts tend to get more placement higher in the feed because Facebook knows everything, and Facebook owns Instagram, and Facebook knows who your friends, family, and everybody are. So if your friends or your family are posting on Instagram, chances are that will rank higher than an average business profile on Instagram. Doesn't mean you can't rank as a business profile, just means you have to work a little bit harder to make sure you're providing that high quality content that your audience wants. There is some small value on popularity. And by that, I mean that, yes, if your post is performing exceptionally well in a period of time, it will get a slight boost algorithmically in your followers' accounts, but it's not going to have a huge impact like it does on Facebook in terms of a well-performing post now being a top feed post for most of your followers, sort of thing. So it's a small value on that popularity. And additionally, your activity impacts reach. This is so important for people to understand. You cannot post and ghost, meaning you can't show up, post content, leave Instagram, and not come back until the next time you post something. If you do that, Instagram's like, what's in it for me? And they're going to punish you with reduced reach. You have to be active on the platform. And this doesn't mean be there, 8 hours a day interacting with every possible piece of content. When you're standing in the line at the grocery store or waiting for your Starbucks or whatever it is, Scroll through the feed, look at some posts, interact, go check out some stories, just go check out the explore page. Be on the platform a little bit as much as possible, and that will help your reach increase. This is also important to know. If you have an agency or somebody managing your social media for you, if they're interacting as you on Instagram, great. If they're not and they're only posting, you need to make sure that you are actively using your Instagram account and being present. Otherwise, you're doing everybody a disservice and you're going to struggle to get that reach. Some major myths that are out there, we are going to bust them right now, okay? Feed content on Instagram is not hidden. Nothing is hidden on Instagram. Everything is there. If you scroll far enough back in the feed, you will see every post uploaded by every account you follow. It is simply resorted, and it's resorted from your last login. So if you logged in yesterday and now you log in right now, all the content uploaded from your last login to now is sorted in ranking of priority. And if you get down to the bottom, it's going to say check mark, you're all caught up. And then you're going back through where it was as of yesterday. So nothing is hidden. Again, not like Facebook. Facebook hides your content. Instagram does not. You just want to make sure your content is high enough that it doesn't get buried in the bottom. Feed content is not impacted by story interactions. If you interact with every single one of my feed posts, it has no ranking algorithmically on where my stories appear in your story feed and vice versa. You could watch every single one of my stories, never interact with my feed post. My feed post will remain at the bottom of the feed. They are mutually exclusive of each other. There is no attribution to response times. You can respond to someone's comment in 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 days. It does not matter algorithmically. Customer service would indicate you should probably reply within 24 hours. The sooner the better. But you get to set those boundaries. And if you don't reply, it's not hurting you negatively from an algorithmic perspective. Also, Instagram is not affected by edits or changes. You had a typo in your caption, go fix it. You will not be punished. It's okay. Just don't do bulk activity, meaning don't go in and delete 50 posts all at one time. That can get you flagged. But if you're just doing one quick change or an edit on 1 or 2 posts, that's okay. You will not be punished for hashtag use. So this is a big misconception. Instagram wants you to use hashtags. You can use hashtags. You can use hashtags over and over and over again on every single post. You can use up to 30 hashtags. There is no benefit to only using 2 or 5 algorithmically. They want you to use them. They help. They work. You're welcome. There is no preference for photo versus video. Now, your audience may prefer photo versus video, but algorithmically, neither one gets preference in the feed. Again, not like Facebook. Are you noticing a trend here? Also, you are not negatively impacted by being a business account. Facebook punishes business pages. We know this. Instagram does not. You can be personal, business, or creator. They all have the same preferential ranking in general. Now, I did mention that sometimes personal content from friends will get preferential placement in the feed, but it's not punishing a business profile. It's just giving a better chance for you to connect with your close friends and family. Okay. So now that you understand all those nuances, you know what works, what doesn't work, all that good stuff, let's actually talk about this from a content perspective and things that you can start doing with your content. First, less content. This is so important. Not everyone, a lot of people are still in this mindset of, I have to post every single day. I have to post 3 times a day. I need to put more content out there. And that is a giant no. If you have too much content, you're literally making your content compete with itself for attention in the feed, which means all those posts which are now in there have to be sorted with all the other content that person has not seen since their last login. And your content is not going to be back to back the top 7 posts in their feed. It's going to get spaced out. Instagram has even admitted that they do this, even though we know that they do this. So they're going to space out your content. They're not going to show up back to back, which means your content is competing with itself for placement in the feed. So don't overpost. And don't post mediocre content. If it's mediocre content and they scroll past it and don't interact with it, you're hurting yourself algorithmically. I would rather you post one time a week and make it amazing, like the best content you could ever create, and have everyone interact with it, than create 12 posts a week and have them be mediocre, poor images, poor captions, redundant messaging, and it's all performing poorly. So just keep that in mind. You want to make your content stand out. You want to get that attention in the feed that makes them slow the scroll, because slowing the scroll is positive rankings algorithmically. And always, always, always post with a purpose. We want to make sure that your content has some sort of serving of your end goal, whether that's getting more engagement for brand awareness, whether that's driving more website traffic for sales and conversions. Not every post will be what the purpose is about, but it should augment that ultimate end state. So some posts are purely for engagement, because we keep engagement up, we keep our content high in the feed. So when we have a call to action, it gets seen and it gets an action on it. Here's one of those slides that you may want to grab a quick screen grab, or grab your camera, take an image of this slide. These are some I could pick a bazillion different examples of what makes good content on Instagram. Here's a couple examples, and I'm going to explain why I like them. The image on the left is from SoFab Food, and I love this one because of that bold color. That fuchsia captures your attention in the feed. You've got that very muted background with the whites and the grays and the whitewashed wood and everything, and then boom, pop a fuchsia. It's also got a really good aesthetic alignment based on the rule of thirds. That front ramekin is in that lower right third. That back ramekin is in that middle left third. So it's really, it's not centered. There's not a very specific destination as like the center of the image. It's a little off center, but it's done in perfect alignment within the rule of thirds. So it's a very aesthetically pleasing image. And that's one of those ones that stands out in the feed and gets your attention. The next one from the Love Bomb Co., which was one of my favorite accounts on Instagram. I love her products. I love her content. She is huge on user-generated content. A lot of her images are actually submitted by her customers, which makes her job easy, because she gets all the free content in all the different capacities that she can just put up. It's amazing. But I like this image from a stylistic point because it has a clear focal point. Even though there's a busy background, it is very zoomed in on the actual product itself. The background is blurred out, so it's not distracting. Everything is in the same color tone. So even I don't know if it's like a grapefruit slice or whatever it is, but all the kind of oranges and browns, the background has the same color tone. So it's very appealing in terms of a visual stylistic aspect in terms of the colors, but also there's a human component. This is huge. Adding people to your photos will drive up engagement, typically 20 to 30%. So there's no face. It's not a person standing there staring at the camera, but there's a human component as a hand. So look for ways that you can add a human component to your images and see if that boosts your engagement. Flat lays are incredibly common on Instagram, especially in food, but also in the fashion industry, the beauty industry, those sorts of things. If you're going to do a good flat lay, invest in the things that you need, the tools to make it work. Have a ladder, get up high, get the right angles, have the right lighting, all of these things. Make sure you do have a good, clear white space, a good clear focus on the actual product. And in this case, the white table backdrop allows you to really focus on the food on the platter. Also, when you're dealing with food, deep saturation, bold colors, really let that food just draw you in with those bold kind of colors, the deeper saturations, the deeper contrast, to really highlight and make the food look really yummy. Another thing that works amazingly well on Instagram is animals and babies. So if you got animals, take advantage of them, because those will drive up your engagement as well. Everyone loves cute babies and cute animals. So when you can do that, go for it. Also, the color blue has been shown to increase engagement on average about 20%. So in this case, the dog is wearing a blue bandana. There's the blue pool table in the background. There's a little bit, probably the actual pool, the blue in the background. There's some blue props in the background. It's not blue as a dominant color, but with the blue in there, it's a visually appealing and stimulating image to help drive up that engagement. And also, this image is a raw image. Not everything has to be a perfectly edited DSLR, Photoshop, filtered image of perfection. Sometimes raw really works best. That's why Instagram stories are so powerful, because they tend to be more raw. So don't be afraid to try out those raw images. And the image on the right, I love this because it's very Instagrammy. It has long linear lines. When you can pull any of that long distance focal point, long linear lines, that can be considered very Instagrammy. Also the color palette, again, you've got the kind of the orange yellow on the left, and then you got the green. They're complementary colors, but they're actually in contrast to each other, which creates a unique experience looking at the image. But also, I get vertigo every time I look at that image. Like, you can feel the emotion in that image. And whenever you can create that visceral, guttural, instinctive reaction in somebody, that is good. And that can be something that generates happiness, sadness, compassion, movement, whatever it is. Look for ways that you can connect with people and create those types of emotions. The other thing you're going to want to do is write better captions. This is super, super, super important for driving conversions. Captions are where we make conversions. Photos and videos get people's attention. Captions are where we make conversions. You can take a look at both of these examples on the slide. Feel free to grab screen grabs of this. I love TSA. Yes, TSA, the people that make you take your shoes off at the airport. Their Instagram is amazing. Like, legit one of my favorite accounts on Instagram. But a good image, get people's attention. Then write a really good, strong first sentence. When you're scrolling through the feed, you'll see the first 2 lines followed by ... more. If no one clicks on ... more, they did not read your caption, which means they did not see your call to action. They did not read your story. So make sure that first sentence is written in a way that gets their attention. Use emojis, capital letters, make a bold statement, ask a question, anything that drives people to want to know more. I love the example on the right from Corey. She's my co-author on the Dummy series, where she has be like a postage stamp, gets your attention. A what now? And then she goes in to stick to one thing until you get there. Do you have shiny object syndrome? So that's enough to get your attention and make you want to read more. So keep that in mind. In general, paragraphs are, could be a single sentence, could be longer, but 1 to 3 short paragraphs is usually the ideal range on Instagram. And finally, when it comes to your Instagram content, you want to create more of what your audience wants. This is super key to success. Now, in this case on the screen, I have an example of here, #makeupover40. This was when I was working with a beauty company. And so I was like, okay, let's look at that hashtag. And you'll notice that all the top content of that hashtag are women over the age of 40. Because at 40 years old, I'm not taking makeup advice from someone who's 22 and never had a wrinkle. So look and see what is the top performing content under hashtags related to your industry. Look at that for inspiration. There's also a lot of before and after images here. So that could tell you maybe that's a good thing to do. It gives you some inspiration and ideas of what is working well in your industry that you can use as inspiration, motivation to create your own content. Then go in and look at your own content. Go into your Instagram insights, go to posts and see all. You can do the same thing for stories as well, but post and hit see all. And then you can actually sort your posts for a variety of metrics. I typically look at reach. This tells me my top performing post based on reach, which if you want to know why I think reach is the most important metric, you can go to my YouTube account, go to Jenns_trends on YouTube, and I have a video that explains why reach is the most important metric on Instagram. But that tells me how well my content is performing. And you can see every one of those images has my face in it. I don't want my face all over Instagram. I promise you, I am not that egocentric. But when I put my image with 2 or 3 words of text, I get crazy good engagement. When I put up other things like rainbows or sunsets or food, I get nothing. So I give my audience what they want, not what I want, what they want, because if you give people what they want, they will ultimately give you what you want. Create the content that resonates with them, create the content that drives their engagement. So when you have those calls to action, when you're trying to push the business, they will see it and they are much more likely to take action, and you will get those sales, you will get those conversions, and you will grow on Instagram. Thank you everybody so much for hanging out with me. You can connect with me around the interwide webs, all things pretty much Jenn's Trends. So website is jennstrends.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know if you have any questions or that you saw me here in this session. I'm Instagram, Clubhouse, YouTube, everything as JENNS_trends. And if you want to stay up to date on all the Instagram news and updates, go check out my Facebook group. Go to Facebook and search Jenn's Trends and Social Media. You'll see the page and the group, but the group is where we actually share all breaking news related to Instagram, talk about it there first, and then I post about it everywhere else. So that's where you can get all the good updates and come hang out with me there. And of course, books. I have co-authored a number of books, and you can get all those at jenstrends.com/books to master all things related to Instagram, Instagram marketing, Instagram for business, all those things that we did not get to talk to today. All right,
Oh.
Maria, questions.
Oh my God, I loved your presentation. You
Thank
answered
you.
a lot of my questions.
Good.
I love that you say that we can edit posts because and Instagram will not punish us, because this was one of my questions. I mean, if I made a mistake, I can go and edit that post.
Yes. Yeah. Fix the typos. You know, the paragraph spacing didn't work. You forgot a hashtag. Go fix it. Instagram is not going to punish you.
Exactly. And you also said at the beginning that, and I love this, you said Instagram is about each individual user. And there are multiple Instagram algorithms. And I love this because today, while I was preparing for this session, I saw that Instagram released an article.
I know.
We are recording this on June 11, and they were saying Instagram doesn't have one algorithm that oversees what people do and don't see on the app. We use a variety of algorithms, classifiers, and processes, each with its own purpose. We want to make the most out of time, and we believe that using technology to personalize your experience is the best way to do that.
Exactly.
So,
And I read that article and I was like, yes, that's what I said. Yes, that's what I said. Yeah. I'm like, it is somewhat validating when Instagram finally admits something. And I'm like, did you want to see my article from 2017 where I listed all of this out? But it is. I'm glad that they finally came out and acknowledged it. And it is worth noting that the algorithm is meant to give us better experiences. Like I said, when we're looking at those stories, the longer you navigate through stories, the less likely those people's content are that you want to see. So if those people's content were the first ones you saw and they weren't relevant to you, you would leave after watching 2 or 3 and leave stories altogether and probably leave the platform. But if Instagram gives you the 12 people up front that you're most likely to interact with, you stay on longer. You have better experience. You see more content. Of course, that means they have more chance to serve you ads. They have more chance to, get to know your behaviors and customize ads for you. There's obviously ulterior motives. We're not naive to that. But it does give you a better experience interacting with the content that you typically engage with. And there's so many signals that tie into that, not just the account itself, but if you always like dog content, if somebody you don't normally interact with posts content about dogs, that content will actually rank higher as well, because they're like, okay, you like dogs, we'll give you a dog content, even though you might not normally interact with that individual account's content. So lots of signals at play.
Exactly. Jen, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really nice.